How we doing today, guys? Sam and Ethan here with your weekly fishing report. We got a lot of stuff going on. Fishing's getting pretty good out there. We're getting out there, if you can tell. We've been getting out there a little bit. So, Ethan, why don't you start off with what you've been doing mostly?
So, right now, with the rockfish season still closed, I've been doing a lot of catfishing. And for that, there's a couple good options for you. Typically, what you'll use is a fish finder rig, which Sammy put out a nice video on a couple days back. You can find that on our social media page. So basically, what you're going to want to do, set yourself up with some good-sized circle hooks. I recommend typically around a 6/0. You can go one higher or lower if you like. And then we've got some good baits for you here. Coming from Berkeley, we have the power bait and then the gulp. These are both catfish-specific baits. They put a lot of scent out into the water. It's going to really draw in those catfish from wherever they're hanging out. Now, these are also going to be 20% off on Saturday and Sunday for our pen sale, as well as anything else from Berkeley. Yeah, you're going to want to rig those up with a fish finder rig. Pretty easy stuff, using typically about an ounce of weight, but if you're in a high current area, you might want to bump up to 1.5 ounces or maybe even 2, just to let you hold the bottom with that weight.
So where are we finding these fish? And primarily, you're going to find them in a lot of the mouths of the river systems, pretty much up and down the bay for a lot of it. I know the mouth of Magothy has been producing really good fish. It's a great time to get out there, just set out some baits, and you can catch a lot of good fish out there.
Yes, sir.
I know the mouth of Severn's doing well. They're catching some fish up in Cambridge off the pier, too, so if you wanted to fish.
Chop Tank River is always very productive for big catfish.
Yeah, so there are some fish down there as well. Besides that, you've been trying to chase snakeheads. It's been a little tough with the weather, but there are some fish to be caught in some of your basic areas down at the Blackwater, Transquake, and Chickamacamico. But as this weather continues to progress to get a little bit warmer, you're going to fish a little bit more aggressive baits. So you got some chatterbaits and some trailers there as well?
We've got some awesome jackhammers from Z-Man. Z-Man makes a fantastic chatterbait with their curved blades and connection straight to the head of the chatterbait itself. And then what you're gonna want to do with those is put a soft plastic trailer on them. These razor shads from Z-Man are fantastic. They're tougher than a lot of other soft plastics, so when you're fishing a toothy fish like snakehead, they can sometimes actually last for more than one fish, and you don't have to replace them as often.
One of my favorite parts about having a trailer on there is a lot of times when you're fishing a bait like this, a lot of the actual strike comes from they're going after the blade.
Right.
When you put on a trailer behind it, now it's allowing you to bulk up the profile that less likely to go after the blade, more likely to go after the back where your hook is. So I do think it's important to add a little trailer on there.
I 100% agree.
So pushing on to shad. Shad fishing's been really good in some of your popular areas. I know up in DC on Fletcher's, they've been still doing really, really well, but also the Eastern Shore is finally starting to see a few come around. So that's a great place to try. Some of your upper areas like Red Bridges and places like that are going to hold them. As far as lures go, it's hard to beat a spoon. Spoon is probably your most classic way to catch shad. We have a few options here from Cast Masters along with this 13 fishing lure. It's a nice heavy bait, but it's also small profile, which is really what you're looking for. A way to get down, depending on where you're fishing. A lot of times you got to get down quite a bit. Having a nice weighted lure that's still keeping small is really important. And as far as anything else goes, flounder fishing. Flounder fishing has been doing really well, especially in the back bays areas down towards like Ocean City, Assateague, Chincoteague, Waterworks. All those areas are having a lot of fish come in, especially on those warmer days. And as far as what you fish, it's hard to beat gulp. Gulp has been out for a very, very long time. It's just a phenomenal presentation. Over here you see some light jigs. These are just some 1/4 ounce to 3/8 ounce GI jigs. Anytime you have those high tide situations, those fish are going to be pushing up into the dirt shallows. So fishing in 1 to 4 or 5 feet of water is typically where you're going to find them on those higher tide situations. But as the tide begins to fall out, you're going to want to start to fish some bucktails in some deeper water. And these are some great jigs here from Mustad that are fabulous. But touching on the gulp again, this is going to be part of our big kickoff sale this weekend from Penn, along with the Rockfish kickoff. These are going to be 20% off. One last tip with the flounder fishing, especially when we're fishing in these really shallow water fisheries, a lot of times they're not actually after little bait fish, they're feeding on shrimp and crabs. So it's always great to have a shrimp profile in the mix as well. So I think that just about wraps it up for this week's fishing report. Thank you guys for stopping by, and come on down this weekend and check out our Penn sales event. Have a good one.